So let's get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our PMP workshop briefing session today. So before we proceed, going to quickly introduce myself. So my name is Kedar Sathe. I am currently working as an HCM professional at Ceridian in Mauritius. And I've been basically an HCM guy. I don't know if you know HCM, Human Capital Management. And I've been a HCM guy for pretty much for my entire career since the last 20 odd years. Uh, One of the things that kind of hooked me on project management was not just because of the nature of the work that I was doing or I was doing that time with my previous organization, but it was also the advantages that I saw for project management in general. So as you can see, I don't look at project management just as a professional or a career thing. It's an important part of my day-to-day personal life as well. So that's what I'm all about. So just to give you guys a quick brief about today's session, what we're going to do is, apart from looking at what we do during the 4-day workshop or what are the various things you can expect in terms of the actual content. If you have any questions, obviously we'll take those questions. But apart from that, I also try to address why PMP is such an integral part of any organization and how it will also benefit us as a professional and the kind of things that we can do for our business, and then in return obviously the business is going to give it back to us in the form of our professional career growth, or it could be promotion, salary increase, and all of that. So I think the why PMP is equally important for us to understand as a professional. And when I do talk about these things during the workshop itself, there's a lot of examples that I share, not just from my own personal life or professional life, but also what we see around us in Mauritius, outside of Mauritius, US, UK, Canada, Australia, other geographies, Europe. So that will also help us in understanding the relevance of this project management, or why the Project Management Institute or PMI is doing what it is today, and basically underline the importance of it. That's obviously going to help us in our professional career. What I've also found interestingly is when you start doing work as a professional, pre PMI background, or without having any knowledge of the concepts, and compare it with what you can see and what you can feel it yourself after taking this course or after getting PMP certified is huge. So uh, some of the things that you do feel is, one, it gives you the confidence to deal with your day-to-day activities, go talk to your customers, just have that total control of your project or your project activities. And when I say control, it's not just the running of the project, or the planning, the execution, but the way we interact with our team members, our stakeholders, how it is going to make a difference in the way the business expects us to do certain things and what we actually end up doing things. Because what generally happens is, we do a fairly good job in planning. We are very good in, okay, we'll do this, first week, so 4 activities, another 4 weeks, 4 activities in week 2, 3 and 4. But when the actual execution starts, and then we get to realize what could be the challenges, the risk, what could be the communication failures that we can experience. So all of these things come into play that could pull your project back, or it will not help us in a way in order to achieve the success criteria of our project, which is something we keep on enhancing during our 4-day workshop. But what I mean by the confidence is not just in terms of the control, but uh, the measurable outputs that it is going to help you achieve, not just for a certain period of the project, but pretty much throughout the duration, the life cycle of the project. And while we do these things, it gives the confidence to the customer, it gives the confidence to the organization that, okay, here is a project manager that is most likely going to cross the finish line with flying colors, and it is going to result into a successful project. So that is something I have experienced personally. The other thing that I have learned it, and sometimes learned it the hard way, is why it is now, I would say, almost a mandatory thing for all of us to have some sort of a knowledge or background in the right way around project management. At one point, I was at a stage where I almost thought that project management is now an essential life skill. Forget about just your professional or personal career, but it is now a personal experience. It is now a life skill for all the professionals. That's how important it is. And then often you guys have heard about continuous process improvement, and you should be looking to optimize your productivity, improve your efficiency, effectiveness, all of that. I think project management touches each of those things on a day-to-day basis. And what it also helps us do is demonstrate those tangible results. So while we learn all of these things during the workshop, I think it is equally important for all of us to understand what positive impact it is going to bring to each of us in the form of, it could be, as I said, just the confidence that it could bring to your day-to-day work. It could be in terms of the tangible goal achievements that you could have. It could be in simple terms, it could be in terms of your promotion, your salary increase, just opening up doors for new opportunities, and the list is probably going on and on. So I think before we embark on this journey about project management or the PMP certification in general, or any certification in general from project management from PMI, it is absolutely important for us to understand, like, what advantage, what benefit, what value it is going to bring us in whichever form we are looking at. This is where we also kind of underline and take a step back. And I personally ask the guys to think about why and what and how and when, what kind of advantages this certification or this type of certification will bring to your career. So a major portion of the workshop, or the things that we do in the workshop, will kind of enhance your knowledge base in order to achieve some of the advantages, the benefits that we generally see in our professional careers or resume in general. Just to give you an example, now this is something that I have pulled from the PMI.org website, the Project Management Institute website, and it clearly indicates that as a PMP, if you have certain number of years of working experience, it could be leading a project, it could be leading a sub project, it could be leading a part of the project, but it definitely has that upward trend in terms of the salary numbers. Or again, the reason I've picked salary numbers is because it's a tangible form of realization of what the output it could bring to us. So you clearly see an upward trend here, and that kind of justifies the importance of a certification like PMP. I don't know if you know this story. When Barack Obama actually went out as the president of the United States, this was back in 2016. A year before that, he actually signed one of the governance rule, which states that every project that the government of United States will be implementing, it has to be aligned with the Project Management Institute's guideline that they have set. So even a person as important as him was able to recognize the importance of the guidelines that PMI had put together. So that underlines the significance of the knowledge base. And it's not just because it is recommended by PMI, or it's the group of experts in general, but what PMI does is it gathers a real time feedback from all the working professionals. So it is not just restricted to a group of individuals who come up with these guidelines. It could also happen that people like you and I get an opportunity to suggest improvements in the current body of knowledge, or the PMBOK, as they call. I don't know if you know this term, the project management body of knowledge, PMBOK. So it's a real-time feedback that they acquire from the field, and PMI as an organization is always open to making those changes based on whatever they see from the field, or the kind of messaging that happens through various platforms. We have got a PMI Mauritius chapter on the island, which was, I think, started 4 or 5 years back. Every year they do a conference, an annual conference in October or November, where all the professionals, all the working professionals across the various industries on the island come together, see what's the new trend that is emerging. Like for last year, the topic was project management and artificial intelligence. So how, with the upcoming trends on AI, how it is going to potentially impact project managers. The constant fear that we have is with the introduction of AI, it's going to take away our jobs, how big it is going to be causing an impact or a disruption in various industries. So topics like these get discussed in the chapter conference. And that's a great opportunity to network and find out what's happening at a global level. But what I have also figured out is, in general, right? If you look at a professionals, the one question I often get is what's the target audience for this kind of a workshop? So it could be for professionals who have just started their careers, um, the the mid senior category, the senior group. It could be also applicable for entrepreneurs that are running their own business. It could also be beneficial for guys who have had gathered certain amount of experience, but they're just trying to add some value to their work that they're doing. So even that's going to be beneficial for them. Um, Although I say that it's across industry which is benefiting from these kind of certifications. What I've also observed is even people working for the government, or educational professionals. We have had people coming from government and educational institutes who attended the workshop, had a lot of takeaways. They were able to identify what gaps they have in the system. They came up with some brilliant idea suggestion, and quite a few of them were converted into some of the working projects which these guys got benefited. So the spectrum of audience in a way is huge. And so far I haven't found one professional that have attended our workshop and then that I've gotten the feedback that, oh, you know what, Kedar, this is just not for me, or I find absolutely no importance, no relevance out of whatever things we have gone through in the 4 days of workshop. So it is wide open for all sorts of professionals. Later, I'm going to show you a slide which gives you a comparison of how significant PMP is, not just within Mauritius but globally. I'm just going to give you some numbers, and that will make things clear. Um, the way we run this workshop now, I don't like calling this as a training, because this is not a typical classroom training where you come, you sit. I, as a trainer, will take you through all the concepts, and then at the end of the day, you will have a big notebook full of concepts. You go back and read it. No, that's not the intention of running this workshop. The reason I call it as a workshop, it's going to make you think. It's going to make you interact. It's going to make you share your experiences. It is going to be a lively environment where it's not just about understanding what EMI is trying to recommend, but it's also about sharing your own experiences and trying to connect the dots between what we do on a day-to-day basis versus what the PMI is going to expect us to do. Uh, so throughout the 4 days of the workshop, obviously, I mean, one of the main objectives for all of us is going to be passing the PMI or the PMP exam, which is no doubt still the priority number one. But while we achieve that goal, that objectives, if we are able to unlearn some of the concepts, learn some of the newer concepts, apply as many things as possible to our day-to-day lives, see the visible impact of doing things in a certain way, in a structured way. It obviously will help you to become more organized as a professional. Time management, it's a lot of has been talked about. You have to be a good time manager for your day-to-day activities if you have to progress and things like that. But if you look at the way the course has been designed by PMI, time management is something which was introduced probably 20-25 years ago. So it's not a new concept for PMI. It's just the way that we are going to pick those concepts from the workshop or the interactions, and then what you do and how you apply those things in your day-to-day lives is going to be the key thing. Throughout the 4 days, we will also take a look at the various exam strategies, because as I said, at the end of the day, passing the exam still is going to be the key thing. And the only way you're going to pass the exams is, one, by understanding the concept. Second is solve as many questions as possible, exam type questions as possible. And if you're not able to get the right answer, then take a step back, think about where we went wrong, what could be the reason, and then try and figure out what could be the right answer. So that's obviously going to happen. That's the most important thing. It also gives you an opportunity to connect with people across different spectrum of varying experiences, of backgrounds coming from different industries. I personally have learned so much from the 2 or 3 years of workshops that I've been doing. I have had multiple people having more experience than me come and sit for the workshop, and in fact, I don't know if they learn from me, but I definitely learn from them a lot of things, and that's also an opportunity for me to understand and see what other industries work, because I'm coming from an X industry, but not necessarily everyone is going to be from the same industry on the workshop. So that's also one of the important objectives. What we also encourage is the group that generally attends the workshop, we try to be in touch for the next probably 6 months, 1 year. And the idea is, whatever momentum we gather in those 4 days or during the 4 days, you need to carry that till the time you pass the exam. We have had at least 3 or 4 good groups, about 10 to 12 people, still together on WhatsApp. They meet probably once every 2 months just to see how things are happening. There's one batch from end of 2022, and we had about 11 or 12 people who attended that workshop. 8 to 9 people of that group have passed the exam first attempt, with great branding, ranking for all the three domains that we have. So working as a group definitely helps, not just to increase the visibility or networking aspect, but also helps you to study together as a group, and then obviously pass the exam, which is, as I said, the most important objective of the workshop. um, the one thing that we often talk about during this workshop is, again, I'll take you back to the why PMP thing. Again, personally, what I have realized is, after you go through these concepts, apply some of the stuff, or apply as much as possible, you automatically start to build a USP for yourself. I don't know if you know the meaning of the word USP. USP is unique selling proposition, or unique selling point. So you try to build a USP for yourself, and that USP is going to help you in your professional careers in order to, take your career to the next level. So that is something that you should be expecting. Do not expect that you will come to the workshop, a 9 to 6 session on 4 days. I'll be teaching few things. You'll have to just go and write things down. No, that's not the way in which this workshop will be conducted. It is going to be a completely interactive 4 days. We will be doing a lot of games, a lot of fun activities. We'll be solving about 180 to 200 questions during the 4 days. So we will try and mimic whatever possibly happens during the exam itself, and try and get that feedback from the workshop itself, which will help you prepare for the examination eventually. So those should be the kind of things. And as I said at the beginning, I don't like calling this as a training. This is not a typical training. This is more like a workshop where you interact, you exchange each other's with ideas, whatever things you have solved, or the problems that you have solved at your workplaces. Because at the end of the day, whichever organization you're working, whatever role, whatever thing you're doing, the most important thing at the end of the day is going to be what problem you are trying to solve for the business, because of which you will get your next promotion or a next salary hike or whatever tangible benefit you're looking at from the PMP certification. So that's something you can also expect. um, During the workshop, we will be providing you with a lot of training material. So there's going to be two or three different platforms for which you will be given the access. One is obviously the mandatory training material that will come from PMI. It is going to be a portal we call as LO Choice, Logical Operations Choice. That's the name PMI has given to that portal. Plus, there is going to be another portal, the ProThoughts e-learning portal, for which we will give you the access. So it consists of flashcards, it consists of additional decks, it consists of questions, answers, case studies, glossary terms, and loads of information that you can take a read whenever you have some time after the training is complete, or after the workshop is complete, or before the workshop starts. At the end of the workshop, we will also give you access to our online exam portal, which we call as ProMock. And as part of the training material, there will be 5 mock exams that you will be given access to. And it is going to be on similar lines to what you will expect in the final PMP certification. So in a few minutes, we'll look at what the exam actually looks like, what are the criteria, eligibility, and all of that. But that is also something which will be a part of your formal training material. We will also provide you an ebook for the Rita Mulkaki PMP exam preparation. It is a tried and tested book. When I personally completed my certification back in 2015, I heavily referred this book. This book is still very relevant. The main objective of this ebook is to make sure that we are aligned with what the examination strategies, the examination type of questions are from PMI. And as I said, it is heavily inclined towards passing the exam. That's the way it has been designed by the authors. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, you'll expect a lot of real life examples to understand the concepts. It's going to be heavily interactive. The workshop is going to make you think a lot. At times, it also might feel that there's information overload for you guys, because there's going to be so much of stuff coming at you. But again, it's just the way that PMI has designed this workshop. And I think before you formally join the workshop, you should be aware of what things to expect, which is why I kind of share these things with the audience. Um, so from a cost perspective, I generally don't like, again, to call it as a cost, because to me this is a simple investment that we are doing. And the investment is not 1 year or 2 year. This is going to be with you for lifelong. Now, what you do with that knowledge thereafter, or after passing the certificate, is completely in your hand. But again, which is where I don't like to call it as an expense, or how much it is going to cost me in terms of money. It is, for me, this is an investment that you're making for one of the life skills, which is going to be extremely important for you. As I said, not for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, but it's pretty much lifelong. So as I said, I think some of you might have talked with Rajesh or Shamila, or even with some of the guys from ProThoughts. But again, if you have any questions around this, around the registration process, feel free to reach out to ProThoughts team, to Shamila, to Rajesh. Later, I'll share the email ID, but feel free to ask any questions if you have anything, and then we'll try and answer those, as long as I'm able to answer that. If I'm not able to answer that, obviously I'll come back and answer that question. So on the screen you have got workshop fees. There's something for exam fees plus 1 year membership. So there's different offerings that PMI offers for its audience. Some of it is directly from PMI, some of it is through um, the REPs or ATPs, the authorized training partners. So ProThoughts and Finanotech are one of the ATPs, which is where you will get all of these access, training material, and part of the workshop itself. We will also support you in your, for example, application for the certification. We'll also support you in terms of preparation. If you have any questions, we will get back to you with answers. So it's going to be not just a workshop related support, but our mission is to make sure that we support you throughout the journey, right from the day you enroll for the workshop till the time you complete your certification. So as I said, a lot of people like working in groups. We do prepare a WhatsApp group for the entire workshop batch, and they continue to work on even after the workshop is done. That's how the momentum that we build during the 4 days is kind of maintained. So that's what the investment is going to look like, not just in terms of the money, but the time, which is more important. So as you might be aware, it's going to be a 2 weekend workshop. So Saturday, Sunday, and then another following Saturday, Sunday is what we generally do. From a preparation perspective, after the workshop is done, uh, as per our plan, again, it's a tried and tested way of studying, because I myself had prepared using the same plan. So what we generally look at is probably about 90 minutes to 120 minutes, 1.5 to 2 hours every day is what the preparation could look like for the next 3 to 4 months. At the end of which, if you take the exam, then there's a good chance that you will pass the exam in the first attempt with upper bands for all three domains that we have. So that's what the investment looks like in a nutshell. If you have any questions on any of the topic, feel free to put it in a chat box. I will try to look at those questions live, and then I'll also try to answer it as much as possible. So do not hesitate to ask any questions. Okay, so now in terms of the eligibility, so what PMI does is it's a three-step eligibility that PMI has set for the certification. One is, or the first level of eligibility is obviously depending on what is your educational background. So some of you guys might have an engineering degree, which is 4 years. Some of you might have a BSc or any other degree, which is not 3 years. It's 2 years or 3 years. So what they have done is, based on your educational degree, they have set a certain minimum number of years of working experience that the professionals needs to show, not just show, but they have to document it as part of the application process. So how much is that? So if you have a 4 year college or a university degree, then PMI expects roughly about 3 years of working experience. So 3 years is about 4,500 working hours. The math that they use is 1 week is 40 hours, and by and large they go with that calculation. And then if you don't have a 4 year degree, then it's obviously 5 years of working experience. Now, if you go and look at the actual eligibility criteria, and I've picked this up from the PMI portal, the wording might be slightly confusing, because it mentions 36 months of experience of leading projects. Now, although it mentions leading projects, you don't need to be a formal project manager in your current job or your prior job. You could also be involved in certain aspects of the project. You could be a part of your initiation team, your planning team, your execution team, or whatever activities you are doing that could be categorized as one of these five. But although it mentions leading projects, you don't need to be a formal team lead or a formal project manager in order to become eligible for the examination. The idea of having the working experience is because it is that kind of a certification which is going to heavily derive from your own experiences of working on projects, which is why they encourage us to have certain a minimum number of working years of experience, and based on the educational background, it will kind of keep on varying between 3 years to 5 years. The 35 hours of project management is essentially this workshop. So at the end of the workshop, all of you guys will get a certificate of attendance saying that, okay, with your name, the dates that you had attended, the location, and then on the certificate, you will have what we call as the ATP REP number, authorized training partner, registered education provider number. You need to enter that number on your PMP application form, and then it is kind of processed. Uh, in general, once you drop in your application on the PMI portal, PMI generally takes about 5 working days, and then they will give you a decision. Okay, your application is approved. Your application is under review. We need some additional information. So based on what the review looks like, they will come back and give you certain questions. Or if there's no question, they'll say, okay, application is approved. Once your application is approved, the PMI or the portal will give you an ID based on which you can go and book the exam for whichever date. So we've got 3 or 4 CBT centers, computer-based training centers on the island. So you can pick and choose as per your date, as per your timing, and then go and give the exam. Now, what PMI does is after the application is reviewed or after the application review process is complete and you get that ID against which you can do the booking. One is the process until the PMI gives you that ID. It is all free. You don't need to pay anything to PMI for getting your application reviewed or approved. It's only when you book the exam date or when you book the exam center, only then you are supposed to pay. So the exam fee is roughly about 450 US dollars. If you are a PMI member, then the examination fee is about $100 less, so $350. The PMI membership itself is about $130. So, that kind of compensates the discount automatically. You do not need to be a paid PMI member in order to be eligible or to sit for the exam. But what I generally recommend is if you're going to take the exam, let's say we are in the month of May right now, and you know that in another 4 or 5 months, let's say by October or November, your preparation will be done, then what I generally suggest is come September or October, make yourself a paid member of PMI, because it not only gives you the discount on the exam fees, but it will also provide you with a lot of licensed material, not just for PMP certification, but for a bunch of things. So that's what is the advantage that you can benefit for that period of 1 year. And once you're through with your examination, you are PMP certified, then it's completely up to you if you want to continue with the paid membership, or even if you don't, then it's not going to be a big thing. But just before you are getting yourself certified, I think it might be a good idea to take a paid membership. Either way, that $100 is going to be passed on to us straight away in the form of examination discount. So it kind of counters itself. And then obviously you submit the application form, and then it's going to be reviewed, and then you can take your examination based on how much time you need to prepare, how much time you need to find from your busy schedule, and then go and do it. So that's essentially about the examination, the eligibility, the how, why, when, what of the exam. If you have any questions, again, feel free to drop me a question. I'll try and answer it live on the webinar. Okay, so I'm slightly going to shift into the actual workshop topics, and what I generally do in the briefing session is, if you remember, one of the things I had mentioned at the start of this webinar is, um, to me, the project management concepts that I have gone through, it is not just benefiting me professionally, but it is also benefiting me personally. So the slide that you see right now is going to be a great example of how the project management concepts that PMI recommends is also going to be applicable for our personal lives. So just to take an example, all of us, all professionals, any professional entrepreneurs, anyone, we generally do a financial planning exercise for our own lives. You save money, you invest, you try to diversify your portfolio. So all the things, I'm sure you must be doing that. But when it comes to managing those resources or those funds, all of us have certain commitments to do. It could be our day-to-day activities, it could be school fees, it could be the cost, the EMIs, the car cost, groceries, everything. So apart from that, you then keep a certain money for your contingency. Let's say that tomorrow, something happens and then you need some additional money. So you plan for those things. So what you see on the slide, the contingency reserve that we have is nothing but the emergency funds that we have, or all of us have in our professional lives. And then obviously you have your baseline and then the management reserve and then the project budget. So the analogy for management reserve is you're planning to do something big. Maybe it's a major life event. You're trying to build a house. You're trying to, immigrate somewhere. For example, if you're trying to take a break from your professional lives and go back to studies, if you're planning to do, something entrepreneurial, like you're trying to set up your own business, and then this little transition period where you finish your working life and then you make a switch. So while you are trying to do all these activities, there's certain contingency that you'll keep for your own life. So that's nothing but management reserve. So just to give you guys an example of how project management is not just relevant for your professional life, but it's equally important for your personal life. So this was just a glimpse of that. But throughout the 4 days of the workshop, we'll go through a lot of these analogies. Like, you will be doing this definitely in your professional life, but this is also something that we do in our day-to-day personal life. It's just that we might not be aware that what we are doing in our day-to-day personal life is something what PMI is actually recommending. So, the workshop will also help you to fill those gaps in terms of your knowledge and understanding. And this is the slide that I mentioned. So um, on the right side of this slide, which is here, this is a PMI fact file that PMI releases every year. Generally, it is done once every quarter, but the April numbers are still not out. So this is what we had as of December of 2023. So what this slide tells us, they generally call this as a fact file. And what they do is, on the fact file, you can go and search on Google. They give you the active certification holders globally for various certification. That's what the idea is. So if you look at the spread of project management community itself, there's about 700,000 or 705,000 people globally that have been a part or that are a part of this community. These 700 plus thousand people are spread across 222 countries and geographies. There are 303 registered chapters. So PMI Mauritius chapter of project management is a formal or a chartered chapter. So the PMI Mauritius chapter is actually one of these 303 chapters that we have globally. There's obviously 4 potential chapters, so that's work in progress. And then what PMI also does, it lists down the active certification holders for all the certifications across various countries. And the interesting thing about this slide is, if you browse through all the numbers, all the DASM, DASSM, these are all agile certification. But if you quickly go through the list and if you look at what happens for PMP, you have more than about 1.4 million certification holders globally. For the rest, it's not even close to 100K. The next best that we have after 1.4 million is probably the CAPM, which is close to 70,000. So that is the kind of gap that we have, and the huge popularity that PMP or a certification like PMP enjoys globally. And this is not just Mauritius or a particular continent. These are across global numbers. And what I've also done is, I've just to try and put some relevance, I have tried to gather some of these numbers just for Mauritius. And if you look at the numbers again, when you look at PMP, for example, the number suddenly shoots up to 300 plus. For the rest, it's not even around 50 or whatever. But that goes to show the significance, the relevance of a certification like PMP, that it enjoys not just in Mauritius, but across locations. So again, this information is something which is available on the pmi.org website. Once you sign up, you register on the portal, you will be able to see all of this. So it's not something that I've put together. It's out on the internet. You can go and search and you can get those numbers. But this is just to give you a context of what the situation looks like, what the scenario is at a global level for the various certifications that we have. And now again, I've been doing this for the last 2-3 years. What I've seen is, again, personally, there's a lot of shift now, a genuine shift in the market, where not just the government, but even private, semi-private organizations, they are trying to align themselves to a lot of good practices that PMI has recommended. At a government level, the government is trying to establish position Mauritius as a high income country by another next 6 or 7 years. And as part of that objective, you've already seen some diversification that is happening. So there's a lot of focus, energy, investments that are being made outside of our usual, the job creating sectors, which is tourism, which is agriculture, and a lot of diversification has started in the last few years. So there's manufacturing, there's renewable energies, finance has always been there. IT is very much upcoming. There's probably another 2,000 jobs that will be created across various levels this year. So the government is also trying to push that, not just for government but also for the private sector. A lot of these organizations today demand a certification like PMP if you have to become eligible for. I don't know. An example could be a project manager role, but if you compare a project manager same experience with a PMP and without a PMP, the organization, the business will definitely prefer the one who has got that PMP. So it is now visibly evident that the companies, the organizations, the businesses are asking for certification like PMP, and it's not happening in suddenly or in 1 or 2 years. It's consistently happening. They know the value, they know the benefit of the certification like PMP, which it will bring to the business. Which is why, if you go back to this previous slide, the 305 active PMP certification holders that we have, a lot of those 305, I can easily say that more than 50% have probably come in the last 4 or 5 years. So that's how aggressively everyone is looking for the project management certification. So just to give you an insight about some of the data that we have, which is available on the internet. Um, so the next few workshops that we have, so there's one obviously in June, end of June, 22nd, 23rd, 29th, 30th. There's one end of August, beginning of September, and then obviously one at the end of October. Not end of the October, but beginning of October. So these are our next three workshops that we plan to do. That's on our schedule. We generally do this at Soufrière at Cordon in Port Louis, kind of central location, helps us commutation wise. Uh, ProThoughts generally conducts this in association with Fenanotech. Our local partner is Fenanotech. They have an office at Arsenal. Rajesh is the CEO of Fenanotech. If you have any questions, if you want to have a have a quick word with him, I don't know if you have spoken with Rajesh or Shamila, whoever it is. Feel free to pick up the phone, drop them a message. They'll get back to you if you have any questions. Just let them know. If you want to talk to me, reach out to them. They will give you my contact details, and we can have a chat if required. But yeah, we do have our local presence on the island. If you have got any questions around PMP about anything, feel free to drop an email on either of the email IDs you see, and we will be happy to get back to you. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to type in your questions. I will try and answer it. Otherwise, we are good to close the session for today. So I'm just going to give you 4 or 5 minutes to see if there are any questions. I'm going to open the chat box and just wait for any questions or anything that you might have. So feel free to ask your questions. If you have anything else, ask. If I don't have the answer, as I said, I will definitely try and get back to you. Otherwise, we have reached the end of the webinar. Okay. So as I said, if you have any doubts about the upcoming batches, any registration questions, if you want to talk to some of our alumni, I can give you references. They can help you with some of the guidelines, some of the things that we have discussed today. If you want to validate some of those things, you can easily pick up the phone. I can give you references. You can go talk to them and get your questions clarified. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we are good to close the call for today. So I'm going to wait for 1 more minute to check if there's any questions. If not, then we will end the meeting for today. And I hope to see you during the next workshop in the month of June. And yeah, hope to see you soon. So Okay, so thanks everyone, and see you soon for the June workshop. Until then, bye bye and good night. Have a great rest of the evening ahead. Thank you. Bye for now.